On detail questions, you basically have to revise a sentence or even add a sentence in some cases that provides a detail that's relevant to the goal of that particular paragraph and indeed to the passage as a whole. And let's look at two examples so we can see some of the considerations we would use when answering these questions. So number 2. I'm going to read, as we mentioned in the previous video, I'm going to read starting from a few sentences before, and I'm going to read a few sentences after. And again, we do this because we need the context. We need to see how the sentence fits in what's going on as a whole. So here we go. Because it requires up to 4 times more milk to make than conventional yogurt does, Greek yogurt produces larger amounts of acid whey, which is difficult to dispose of. To address the problem of disposal, farmers have found a number of uses for acid whey. They can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement, and people can make their own Greek-style yogurt at home by straining regular yogurt. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid whey runoff can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. So we want the one that has the most relevant detail, and this is where we get into issues of this being on topic and being consistent with the flow of what's going on in this paragraph. Notice this paragraph is talking about this byproduct of producing Greek yogurt called acid whey, which is environmentally problematic, and you need to find ways to get rid of it. And indeed, the sentence before our sentence talks about one way to get rid of acid whey, or that farmers have found ways to do it, and one of the ways in the beginning of this sentence is to use it as a protein. And then in sentence 5, the following sentence, we talk about kind of the environmental problems of acid whey runoff, for example. But notice in the original, we suddenly bring in this idea of people making Greek-style yogurt at home. This is not on topic. We're not talking about how people can use or how people can make Greek-style yogurt. We're talking about how we deal with this thing called acid whey and the environmental problems it has. So we're looking for the relevant detail, relevant meaning on topic with what's going on in the passage, so we can get rid of the original because it's not relevant. So let's see, they can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement and convert it into gas to use as fuel and electricity production. So this gives us another way in which farmers and other people can use acid whey productively and not simply just throw it into the groundwater or something. So this seems to be a pretty relevant detail. They can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement, while sweet whey is more desirable as a food additive for humans. So seems to be kind of relevant because it's almost like saying, well, there's another kind of whey, I guess, that we can use that humans will eat or something, but the focus here is on acid whey, this particular byproduct that we need to get rid of in some way, in a safe way. So for that reason, C is not quite right. Which provides an important element of their diet. I mean, sure, that might be interesting, I guess, that it this acid whey is something that cows like or something, or livestock like. I guess that's interesting, but is that really relevant? Is that on topic? Not really, especially given what we saw in this previous sentence, that they have found a number of uses. If they found a number of uses, this means we expect more than one use. In A, C, and D, we're just going to be stuck with this one use. In B, we've got 2 uses. It's use it as a livestock feed or use it as fuel and electricity production. So for that reason, we're going to go with choice B. It's the most relevant detail. Let's check number 20. Which choice best completes the description of a self-reinforcing cycle? So we want to add a detail, and remember rule 3, pay close attention to the question, that completes the description of a self-reinforcing cycle. This is something we have to make sure that our choice does. The result is a self-reinforcing cycle. As the ice melts, the land and water under the ice become exposed, and since land and water are darker than snow, the surface absorbs even more heat, which is related to the rising temperatures. So this passage, as a side note, when we do these questions, we're doing these out of context. We would have done these as part of reading the entire passage and doing 17, then 18, and 19, and 20. So we would have an idea of what's going on in the passage as a whole. So to catch us up on this, this is about global warming. It's about the melting of ice and the results that can have. So here we're talking about how the result is a self-freeing cycle. As ice melts, the land and water underneath is exposed, and that could absorb more heat, which of course is going to keep the cycle going, which is then going to melt even more ice and snow, right? So we want the one that best completes the description of a reinforcing cycle. a self-reinforcing cycle. The original, which is related to the rising temperatures, I guess that's in the right direction, but this is pretty vague. Is related. We want something a bit more specific than that. I mean, it further fuels the rising temperature. That would be more specific. Raises the surface temperature. I mean, that's okay. I mean, that shows the temperature would be increasing, so maybe we'll hold this aside, which would then lead to further melting. Begins to cool at a certain point. That doesn't seem to say anything about this reinforcing cycle, that it would continue to get warmer and warmer. But D leads to additional melting. That looks pretty good because this is showing that cycle, right? As ice melts, the land and sea underneath absorb more heat, which increases the temperature, which therefore leads to more melting, which exposes more land, and you're getting that sense of that cycle. So the one that does the job best here is going to be choice D, and that's our answer.